Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your February reading. Let's go ahead and get started here. What is it that Cancer needs to know for February 2026? Let's start with these first 5 cards here. Okay. I feel like you are trying very hard to mitigate or avoid some kind of loss or disappointment. It may include another person, it may not, it might just be some sort of investment that you're making or some type of endeavor that you are on. But the Seven of Swords feels like, I don't know, it feels very fearful. A lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of like, well, if this, then that, and if this, then that, and well, what about that, and what about that? And it's just not very solid. And it's not necessarily the best place to really proceed because it's just not sure. It does have a lot of doubt. It might even be a little bit self-sabotaging right now. But I think it's this way. The Seven of Swords is showing up because the Three of Swords is showing up, right? There is some kind of memory or past situation where things didn't really go your way, or there was some type of loss and sadness or hurt or pain. So the Seven of Swords is like, I don't want to go through this Three of Swords again. And the Knight of Swords right here is saying, okay, we're going to do absolutely everything we can do not to avoid the Three of Swords, the Three of Swords itself, not the pain itself, but to avoid the effects, I guess is a good word, to avoid the effects or the behaviors that might come from a Three of Swords. So I feel like Cancer right now is operating with a really high degree of self-awareness, which is to be expected with Jupiter in your sign, where you're really witnessing yourself. You're witnessing yourself responding to all of this energy. These are just tendencies, and they're all in your mind. And it's almost as though you're witnessing yourself having all of these scenarios in your mind. But maybe nothing is even really happening because I'm seeing a lot of stability here with Justice and Queen of Coins. Like the actual circumstances are fine. The actual reality is fine. But the inside, the inner workings are very busy. And it feels a bit like a roller coaster. It feels a bit like you're fighting against yourself and trying so hard not to fight against yourself. Like you're resisting the fight, which is kind of making the fight a bit more intense. It tells me that perhaps maybe there's still some attachments to something. That perhaps maybe you're fighting to hold on to an idea or to a concept, and yet life is kind of nudging you in a way very opposite from that. And there's resistance there. Now, with the beginning of the month, okay, this is a pretty intense month because we finally have that true Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the end of the month. They've been very, very close together for a long time now. Neptune now is officially in Aries as of February 1st. Saturn will be making his way into Aries on the 13th, just a couple of weeks later. And then on the 20th, just a week after that, then we will have that official Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And then after that, Saturn is going to start to leave Neptune behind because he moves so much faster. So we're going to really be coming out of this weird fog that we've been in for quite some time, this weird, specifically structural fog, where we are not necessarily feeling sure about how to really go about doing things. Plus we have eclipses, 28 degrees. We have that new moon eclipse in Aquarius, and it's just an intense month. There's just a lot of things. Now Mercury is going to move into Pisces. It's going to be making its way through a pre-shadow phase. Venus will come in there as well. But specifically, the mercurial energy is going to be weakened. And so our perception, our mind, our thoughts, the way we're communicating, the way we're connecting the dots, it's just like there's something askew this month. And that's why I think like the mind is kind of spinning, because it's Mercury retrograde in detriment kind of stuff. Okay. But the reality is actually everything is pretty good. Everything is pretty stable. Everything is on track. You don't perceive it that way because, again, everything kind of relates back to this pain point, a previous loss, a previous betrayal, a previous disappointment, and you're trying very hard to not go back there. But nothing indicates in the real world that that's the case. I'm not trying to get you to second guess your own mind here. I'm not trying to get you to like not trust yourself. But we just have to understand that when we have such strong Neptunian influence, it is very common for us to not see things clearly. I will tell you that if you can, a third party opinion or observer could probably be really helpful. So someone who's not personally invested in anything that you have going on, whether asking them for their advice, for their perspective, for their opinion, whatever, could be beneficial for you, because it might make you see like, oh, I'm spinning out of control here. Mentally, my mind is going a bit, doing all these gymnastics, but it doesn't have to, because look at all this solid, secure stuff. Everything seems to be taken care of. Everything seems to be fine. So that could be helpful. Now, you might still be feeling some of the effects of, a pendulum swing to some degree. I think with such heavy 8th house stuff, you've got, beginning of the month, we have 5 planets in there: Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, and Pluto. Mercury and Venus will move on very early on in February. So then we'll be left with the Sun, Mars, and Pluto. But even still, this is a house where we evolve in a very deep way. And I think that for you, Cancer, you are maybe eliminating some things that aren't really all that good for you. You are coming into higher states of awareness. You are finding the right track, even though you don't think you are. And, it's going to push you a little bit, the 8th house. The 8th house is going to push you. Okay. But I do think you're thinking about things, Queen of Coins, you're thinking about the material realm a lot. I think you're thinking about maybe your money or financial situation. Of course, the 8th house is opposite the 2nd house. There's a lot of money themes that come through here. If you're married, there could be spousal money concerns, insurance policies, taxes, all that kind of stuff applies, really thinking about that aspect. And actually, to be honest, thinking about those things is probably a better use of your mental energy right now, as opposed to thinking about all of the what ifs and all of the ways to try to avoid the pain point. Because all this is going to do is just loop around and around and around and around. So thinking about real world items that can be accomplished, goals that can be set, limits that can be set, that's a good use of your energy. Okay. Let's see what else comes through for you, Cancer, here. What else do you need to know? Okay, as we make our way through to the end, like the second half of the month. So I would say that probably once Saturn comes into Aries, there's going to be a big shift. And even though we still have, Mercury pre-shadowed and we have eclipses looming and we have the Saturn Neptune thing, I just think Saturn in Aries is vastly different from Saturn in Pisces, regardless of any of the aspects and conjunctions and all that stuff. It's just going to want to hit the ground running, almost like as soon as he comes in there, he's like, all right, we are in Pisces, we are no longer in Pisces realm, we are now in Aries realm. Let's do Aries things, which is go after it, fight for it, battle for it, right? In real world ways. This is not the most elevated realm spiritually. I don't know that it has to be. Like, it doesn't have to be all in the clouds. It doesn't have to be fantastical. It doesn't have to be all visualization and all this. There's nothing wrong with that kind of stuff. But I just think Saturn in Aries is more like, I just want the reality to be in my hands. I want the real tangible thing to be in my life. Now, the Nine of Cups does speak to happiness and fulfillment and joy. And I do think having a moment of deep gratitude and a moment of prayer and a moment of really looking around at how abundant you are will probably prove quite useful. There's a lot regarding identity right now. And so this Nine of Cups can really help you to reshape your identity as someone who has a lot and someone who has many opportunities and someone who has good luck and someone who has, a beautiful life. And it helps to really reshape certain behaviors. And because we're so focused right now on the structures of our lives, this identity can help us to structure our life in such a way where that becomes even more real, right? The good luck becomes more real. The abundance becomes more real. Temperance tells me that whatever hype, this feels very hyper to me, but temperance seems to really calm or simmer it down. And it feels like you realize, okay, putting energy into my Seven of Swords, Three of Swords is not going anywhere. I'm literally spinning my wheels here. There is no progress. So I'm going to reallocate. I'm going to pour from one cup into another. So you're going to pour out of this cup all the energy that you were pouring in this one. You now pour it into the Eight of Coins, which is we go to work, we produce, we make things happen, we get into that creative zone. And when we, and as much as I am not a super fan of Mercury pre-shadow in Pisces, right, which is detriment, there is still a lot of creativity that can come through, especially when Venus is in Pisces. One thing I will just kind of caution you on is your spending, because there can be a lot of loss that occurs here, especially with the North Node and eclipses and all that kind of stuff in place. So we want to, instead of having that outflow of resources go toward frivolous things like buying new clothes or a new car, or spending money randomly on social media products that we just see and, impulse buy. Instead of us taking that energy and wasting it, we want to take that energy and direct it, channel it, funnel it into the creative endeavors that we already have going on for ourselves. Okay, so this is a wild amount of energy here being spent. So we take that and we just dedicate to production. You are going to see pretty significant results fairly quickly. The Empress is really a mirror of that Queen of Coins, I would say, where she is also quite focused on the actualization of things. Her whole role in the tarot is to bring ideas into form. It's about the form. Okay? That's her main, that is what she channels. That's what she does. Now, it doesn't have to be heavy or hard, or it doesn't have to feel like drudgery. I see no drudgery here. I actually see a pretty good attitude about everything. As soon as you kind of get out of this like weird little funk right here, I actually see you being like, okay, this is so doable. This changes so much because it really redirects the attitude. And so when you start doing the 8 of Coins thing, the production with a good attitude, you start to look like, wow, look at how fast I'm able to accrue all these coins. Look how fast I'm able to produce all this. Look at how fast I'm able to X, Y, or Z. You're going to receive even new ideas, even more ideas. You're going to start connecting with the right people. And I think people are going to start to reach out to you with that page. And I look at that page as incoming resources, incoming people, incoming contacts, incoming messages that say, okay, Cancer is onto something. Cancer has something that I want to be a part of. They have the talent, they have the skill, they have X, Y, and Z. So I want to attach myself to that. Now, the page, I don't know that that's even really the point. I mean, it is, because that's kind of what, where we all want things to come in. But I think ultimately the point of all this is changing the mindset, changing the perspective, changing the approach. This approach here is scared, and there's an element of fury, okay, or urgency that's unnecessary. And that does a number on your nervous system, right? It does a number on your sleep patterns. It does a number on your appetite. So why do that when everything is fine? And I think everything is fine. Like, let's say you actually are in survival mode with your bills, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But 9 of Cups comes in and says, yeah, you might be living paycheck to paycheck, but good news is all your bills are paid. Good news is you do have a roof over your head. Good news is you are able to eat, and it's a good thing, and everything is good, and life is good. And then you kind of turn that attitude into maybe producing more, going out and finding another job, putting yourself in better situations so you can accrue more. And I do think with Jupiter in your sign, it is okay to think about how you can get more in this life. When Jupiter comes in through our sign, comes in through our first house, this is kind of the beginning of a whole new 12-year manifestation cycle. Specifically the next 10 years as Jupiter transits from the first house all the way into the 10th. There's a lot that comes online with this Jupiter situation that you have. So wanting more is essential. It's an essential step in your path. Okay? So let's plot the clarifiers here and see what comes through. So what is it that you need to know here, Aquarius? Starting with the 7 of Swords, Chariot, the Hermit, 9 of Coins, Seven of Coins, Strength, and 4 of Wands. 6 of Coins. I like 6 of Coins with the Justice card because it does tell me a story of harmony and balance. 4 of Coins and Hanged Man. Ooh, Justice on Justice. We'll pull out 3 more since we got a repeat there. 3 of Cups, Page of Wands, and King of Wands. Wheel of Fortune, 10 of Coins, and the Devil. A lot of Capricorn energy there. We have the Queen of Wands, Knight of Coins, Eight of Wands. We have the Fool, the Temperance, another Page, Four of Swords, Ace of Cups, Judgment, Seven of Cups, Eight of Cups, Three of Coins, Five of Cups, the World, and two more cards, Cancer, Four of Cups, and last but not least, Beautiful Magician. All right, Cancer, this is where we're going to pick up in the comprehensive. So if you want to join, all the links are going to be in the description box and comment thread down below. We'll talk for another 20 minutes or so about all these, 25, 30 minutes usually about all these cards, approximately. So if you want to join, all the info down below. Thank you all so much. Hope you have an amazing month, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.